Again, good afternoon. It's wonderful to see so many of you joining us today. We are so glad to be at this point after years to be ready to begin. And now, to paraphrase the words that our congregation is accustomed to, I welcome you in the name of Countryside Community Church, United Church of Christ, and in the name of God of Abraham, known to us in many ways. Before we actually begin, please take a moment, as is our custom, to greet those one around you. Please take your places, and it is my privilege to introduce Eric Elvis, our senior pastor, who will offer prayer.
Actually, that's wishful thinking. I'll offer prayer and comments. First of all, to our partners, we can't wait to be moving into the neighborhood with you and just enjoy what you created before we got involved in this whole big thing. Thank you. So it was a little over 3 years ago. I was at a meeting in Phoenix, Arizona with a clergy meeting. And I was at dinner with 6 clergy colleagues who are among my most trusted, admired colleagues in the entire United Church of Christ. And I'm telling them about this Tri-Faith Initiative thing in Omaha, and their minds are going, and they just couldn't believe such a thing was happening in Omaha. They said, this is like, where does this happen in the world? I'm saying, well, like nowhere in the world. I said, if this thing actually takes off, I mean, it could very well be the most important thing going in religion today. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of know that. We're kind of into some discussions with the Episcopal Diocese of Nebraska about possibly helping it, which could lead to an invitation to take their place as a Christian partner. We don't know, but that could. And suddenly they got very serious. And they said, you can't let that happen. I'm like, well, why? I mean, you just said it was the greatest idea in the world. Well, yeah, we all think it's the greatest idea in the world, but you do know that if you allow this idea to go forward, you will be fired. Like, why do you think I'd be fired? He said, because congregations never, ever move simply for a vision. They move, they change locations because like the roof is caving in around them, or the neighborhood isn't working for them anymore. They're trying to chase down a new population in a new hot section of town. They never move simply because of a vision. And so if they vote this down, they'll vote you out as well. Well, that shook me up a little bit. However, I concluded that they didn't know Countryside like I know Countryside. Countryside is not a pastor-led congregation, nor is it a lay-led congregation. It is a Spirit-led congregation, and if Countryside felt that the Spirit was calling us, then there's nothing I could do to stop it. Nevertheless, I had already scheduled 2 days to go on a writing retreat up at Arco Santi. You know where we get those bells for our moderators? I was going to go on a writing retreat. I thought, this is going to be a prayer retreat. I need to double check my internal mechanisms here. Ask, God, am I doing the right thing, participating in this, or are they right, or what? And so I prayed, and I went out in the middle of this retreat on a prayer walk, right in the forest behind Arco Santi. And I just got off the trail and said, God, you lead my footsteps. I need a sign. Now, I almost never ask God for signs. I don't really, not big on that, because I've tried in the past, and God doesn't really follow my time schedule in providing them. However, I was kind of desperate. Just give me a sign of anything that would indicate your will for me and the church. And I'm just wandering, kind of following where my intuitions were taking me, kind of looking down, and suddenly it's like the hairs on the back of my head stood up. It's like, okay, sign approaching, sign approaching. And then I saw it. It was this big tree. And in the tree was a bicycle up in the branches. I'm like, well, that's weird. So I walked up to this tree, and then I saw the real sign to me. As beautiful as that bicycle was, it's bizarre, but there was a bunch of wind vanes that they used for the bells. They were just simply strung, hundreds of them, strung in a metal chain all up into the tree, just hanging there, waving in the wind. Bear in mind, there's no tree like this at all for a half mile in any direction. There's just this one tree sitting out there with a bunch of wind vanes hanging in it. And as soon as I saw those wind vanes, I looked at that string going all up the tree, I had a vision. A vision that just occurred to me in my mind's eye very briefly, but it stuck though. And it was of a person who you know very well, Pam Craig. Who was, yeah, you don't know this, I've never told you this story. I didn't want to freak you out. Until now. It was up Pam Craig, who was our moderator at the time, and then in a voiceless voice, a voice I could not hear with my ears, but on the inside, it spoke as clear as a bell as I'm speaking now, but not to me, it was speaking to Pam. And it was, as you see these wind vanes, these are the future generations of moderators of Countryside Church. Generation after generation after generation. And they're going to all be looking back to you and the leadership that you've assembled around you and thanking you. And the final piece of that was they're going to be thanking you, but you have no idea what you're getting into. But it's going to be a whole lot better than even you are imagining now. Well, I looked back down the row of wind vanes, and again that voice returned, again speaking to Pam, saying, these are the generations of moderators who have come before, many who have passed on. And they're all looking at you saying, thank you. We may not have understood the vision in our day, but we understand it now. And you have fulfilled the greatest aspirations that we were working for in this church before you. And but Pam, I have a little something for you, if you would come up here. I've been keeping this for you since that day. It's one of the wind vanes. And let us now be in prayer. Holy Spirit of the living God, we thank you that this day has finally arrived. We ask that you dwell with us and in us and all of our faith partners, that in the future we may all turn back to this day and say, you had no idea what you were getting into, and it's way, way better than even you imagined. Amen. Just so moved by that prayer. Reverend Dr. John Dorhauer, I have a personal interest in him because as I was leaving to come here from Scottsdale, Arizona, he was just coming to the Southwest Conference to serve as the conference minister of that conference. And so I learned about him, and the more I learned about him, the more I realized, well, shoot, as excited as I am to come to Omaha, I'm really disappointed that I will not be around this guy, because he seemed to be highly intelligent, highly creative, and highly faithful to the vision that has inspired us in the United Church of Christ. Since that time, John has worked tirelessly as our general minister and president, but also before he came to be the general minister and president, as he was still working as the conference minister for the Southwest Conference, he also became aware of this convergence that we've been talking about between people on the right and left who have left their traditions, their faith traditions, and kind of wandering the wilderness and finding common ground, common aspirations and common dreams, and convinced the conference to allow him to devote 20% of his time to helping to spread that vision of unity that transcends right and left. And so, once again, I saw this person is a true visionary. So when he became president of the UCC, I thought, I do not worry about the future of the UCC so much anymore. Because John is here to help guide us. And John, I couldn't be more thrilled to have you be here as the person who's our primary speaker for this day, which is so important in the life of our church and the life of Convergence Christianity and the life of the Abrahamic faith community.
So if he thinks he was disappointed that he didn't get to work with me, the day I arrived, I learned that he had found another position, and I almost quit that day. I thought, what's the point if I don't get to work with Eric? The beautiful thing about now serving as general minister and president, because Eric is one of the shining stars of this denomination, we get to continue building our relationship and casting a vision forward for what a new Christianity can look like in a world where peace is possible. Rabbi Aryeh Asriel, Imam Jamal Dahoudi, Rabbi Daryl Crystal, Pastor Chris Alexander, and Pastor Eric Elness. I want to thank you for the invitation and the honor to speak at this commemorative and, dare I say, historic moment. At any time, what you have committed to here would matter. This isn't just any time. In this time, hate crimes are on the rise, significantly. 900 such acts were counted by the Southern Poverty Law Center in the first 10 days following our last election. The Anti-Defamation League is reporting an 86% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in the first quarter of 2017. And the FBI reported a 67% spike in hate crimes against Muslims in 2016. In this time, a new narrative is being articulated. As a child, I was made to read Emma Lazarus's poem inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. And at an early age, I learned that the prevailing mythology of this country was rooted in our ability and our desire to absorb and integrate peoples from around the globe yearning to breathe free. And with great pride, I absorbed the American ethos of welcoming the stranger. While that myth belied other hidden truths, later made clear as stories about slavery, internment camps, church burnings, Guantanamo Bay, white power, white privilege, and white supremacy were discovered and learned through my childhood, it is nonetheless true that the act of teaching children about the higher ideals of welcoming the immigrant and the stranger was an investment in a future that could dare to hope for the eradication of past atrocities. In this time, in our time, a new narrative is being cultivated which contradicts the previous one that offered to the world's tired, poor, huddled masses a lit lamp lifted to them beside the golden door. The gold is tarnished a bit. and the lamp has dimmed. Immigrants have become threats. Mexicans are now rapists, murderers, and drug dealers. Muslims are terrorists. And an elected president of this American enterprise wants to use religion as a means of determining whether or not you can be trusted here. In this time, all three of the Abrahamic faiths represented in this tri-faith initiative have zealots whose worldview bends them toward radical intolerance of the other, even when the other is a more moderate practitioner of their own faith. This has always been true, as Karen Armstrong's book, The Battle for God, documents, tracing Christian, Muslim, and Jewish fundamentalism through the millennia of our respective faiths' histories. In this time, however, the margins are shifting to the middle, and the meta-narrative is changing. In America today, there is an ascendancy of a fundamentalism that equates Christianity with patriotism. And within this expression of Christian fundamentalism, alliances with Zionist Jews in Israel has become critical, not because there is a deep appreciation for the Jewish people and their beautiful faith, but because their apocalyptic myth requires Jerusalem to be in control of Jews before Jesus can come again and then burn them all in hell. Politics indeed makes strange bedfellows. And this unholy alliance is tolerated on both sides because of current political needs and future aspirations. Also within this expression of Christian fundamentalism is the perpetuation of the myth of the Muslim as terrorist. It has often been said, to the victor go the spoils. I think it is more relevant to say, to the victor goes the pen. Those in power can shift the lens of public attention where they choose, creating narratives writ large across the landscape of our shared attention. As important as the stories they choose to tell are the ones they choose to ignore. And so in Portland 2 weeks ago, a white man named Christian stabbed 2 people who stood to protect a fellow traveler from the Christian's Muslim rage. What I know here is the amount of tweeting our president did in the aftermath of the London attacks over the weekend, all of which enhanced his emerging narrative that Muslims are terrorists, and most of which were designed to reinforce his unconstitutional order to close the borders to Muslims. No such vitriol or venom accompanied the Portland act of terror. On that matter, he was silent. It didn't fit the narrative. I represent the segment of the Christian faith that the members here at Countryside also represent. A faith that sees Jesus as a way, not the way, but a way. Our Jesus celebrates the gift that Moses gave in the Torah, and that every scholar since has followed, upon whose musings in the Talmud they have extended the wisdom from one generation to the next. That same Jesus sees Muhammad and his sacred writings in the Quran as an extension of his own teachings, a blessed pathway to the love of neighbor and a call to justice for all. I deplore any Christianity that militarizes faith, that oppresses the pagan, condemns the Muslim, and imagines that armies and nations will be deployed in service to its God. And the stories they must tell to normalize such extremism have become the pablum being fed to us all. Although it cannot nourish, many of my fellow Christians are swallowing this and calling it good. What you offer today is the good food that nourishes. It is a narrative of hope and conciliation, of respect and mutual dignity. And every child who arrives here to encounter their sacred will come to know that peace is possible. Not the peace that ensues from forced conformity, but the peace that can only be found when the full array of human effort, ingenuity, creativity, and endeavor is celebrated. My prayer is that the story that you are writing here becomes the narrative that defines the next generation of American leaders. Let us not naively underestimate the power of the narrative to reshape the landscape of an American horizon that always oriented towards hope for the oppressed peoples of the earth. But let us also not underestimate the need for or the power of the story you are writing to serve as the antidote to the fear and hatred that abound today. I am here not just to celebrate a moment in time worthy of our collective notice. I am here to bear witness to ground that once broken might soon erupt in a groundswell of unconstrained peace. Let this be the story we tell our children, that once upon a time in a land called Omaha, the Jew, the Muslim, and the Christian stood as one and started a movement that changed the world. If all you did in this time and in this place was stand alone against the tide of race hate and religious intolerance that is sweeping across the globe, it will have been worth everything you sacrificed to get here. But my hope is much bigger than that. I will do my part to make sure that this story, your story, will be heard in every burg and village and town and city to which I travel. And I travel to a lot of them. Let the hope and the peace and the love and the respect for all that is promised here become leaven in a bread that feeds the hearts and hopes of a world grown weary of its hatred. At any time, what you have committed to here would matter. But this is not just any time. Thank you.
Okay, how do I beat that? Okay, I am Kaylee Parmentier. I am going to be a junior, and I am in the Countryside Youth Program. So a question that sits in my mind a lot, now that we are focusing more on the Tri-Faith as we are at our groundbreaking, is what does Tri-Faith mean to me? So in the beginning of starting our Tri-Faith whole program, I was like, okay, I grew up being a Christian. I knew nothing about anything else. Like, I always thought there was only Christianity. I was wrong. But it opened my eyes to so many opportunities. When I first started, I was very focused on Christianity, and I knew my religion and only my religion. And in the beginning, your religion did not matter to me at all, because it was just me. But then once we got into it, I opened my eyes, and I was like, wow. There is so much hatred going on to all the other religions besides mine that it broke my heart. I was like, and I thought I was being hated against for being a Christian, and I thought, wow, like, everything it's terrible. And so, going into the Tri-Faith, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I thought that I really wouldn't get to know anyone in the whole thing, that I was going to stay in Countryside and not go into the other buildings. But once I went in, I found home. I found a place where I was accepted to be myself with other people in their religions, and I felt safe and secure, and I felt peace with myself. In my AP Human Geography class, we did a study over religion, and mine sadly was not tri-faith, but we did it over religion, and my teacher, we were talking about Christianity, and my teacher said, I heard this new thing that's going on here in Omaha, and it's called the Tri-Faith Initiative. And I stopped the whole class, and I raised my hand, and I said, ooh, that's me. And so I stood up, and I talked for about 30 minutes about the whole Tri-Faith Initiative. And I tell you, they were all interested in it. And it felt so good to talk about my religion, one, in a public school, and two, to feel so proud of who I am and where I'm going to church. My feelings now going into it as a 15-year-old girl who isn't necessarily worried about church, but now I am. But going into it as a 15-year-old girl, it is really scary because I don't really know how people are going to take me as being a Christian girl in the public school, and some people think I'm like a nun or something, but I'm not. But my feelings now are, I get a warm feeling inside when I walk into church, and I sing for my choir, and I just feel that warm feeling as I'm singing for the people who love me and people who are always there. They're always behind me, and they're always there to push me into places I may not go myself. But I can honestly say I love the whole tri-faith idea and where it's going, because I know it not going to be my eyes, but the whole KOYO and the whole youth group at our church. I know it's opening all of our eyes, and we are learning more to accept people as they are and where they come from. So to answer my question, what does tri-faith mean to me? Tri-faith means acceptance, love, and one big happy family.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me.
to introduce somebody who's going to introduce somebody. Is this on? Hello? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay, great. So Rick McInnes was the vice moderator when the Episcopal Diocese of Nebraska approached us to have some discussions about how we might help the Tri-Faith Initiative them in one way or another. And by the way, can we just pause for a second and acknowledge the incredible work that the Episcopalians, the diocese did. They, for 8 years, kept this vision very much alive, and we would not be here today. I have a little gift for Rick, too. You know, groundbreakings are all about shovels, but when I think about Rick, I think about a shepherd's crook. Now, you may recognize this is actually a plant holder for a garden. But what use would Rick have of a real shepherd's crook in Nebraska?
Cleaning out the garage, Eric?
They were going to use it for me if I went too long. But but during the process, so Rick was key leadership during the whole 2-year discernment process for us. And what I remember most vividly was just how much respect and appreciation he had towards every member of Countryside who ever approached him with any kind of question or complaint. And there were so many times that we would be sitting out in a meeting and Rick would have just kind of casually mentioned, oh yeah, I spent 2 hours on an email to so-and-so who had an issue. Things like this. Not trying to persuade so-and-so, but rather give a full context so so-and-so could make a more informed decision. And so what I think about most during that period is just how much Rick represents the love of each and every congregation member, whether they were for Tri-Faith or not. And I would like to also take a pause and show some appreciation for those who struggled with this. Whether they ended up voting for or against it, they struggle. It doesn't matter. They are all appreciated because they all ran into a vision, a shift in a vision, a new call. And for some people, they decided this is my call. Some were perfectly good people. They decided, no, this isn't my call. But all of them had to struggle. And let's give everyone an appreciation. Through all that, and then after stepping down from being moderator, he decided to take a little job, smaller job, like basically oversee this entire construction process in one way or another. So I know, but Rick has really taken us. It's been the head of the CRC, and you'll learn more about CRC and CRAC in a moment. The whole countryside relocation team, and so Rick has been familiar with everything from the shape of the bell tower that will emerge to literally how many rolls of toilet paper will be in the toilet paper dispensers in every bathroom. And so he's also been shepherding us very much through that process. So Rick, this is yours.
Thank you. I just about got through it. Thank you, Eric. On behalf of the Countryside Relocation Committee, and I have to have some notes for all this, I want to welcome everyone here today. Really, this is truly a momentous time in the history of Countryside Community Church. It's been a new chapter for all of us, building consensus around the way our shared mission, vision, and the values will be best expressed in our new church today and really for generations to come, like Katie told us. Through the visioning process and input from so many of you, during the Dreaming, the Countryside Relocation Committee, the Advisory Group, Church Council, the subcommittees, we built a design around 8 aspirational goals. And I just want to read those to you, just so you know kind of where our foundation came from. And that's also thanks to the architects to help us vision that. Architectural expressiveness, functionality, durability, sustainability, views and daylight, budget adherence, of course, material quality, and programmed spaces. The form and the shape of the final design, and it's out there on the board out in front of the tent, reflects the program gathering for different purposes. Worship and fellowship, both in its different forms. The exterior represents the earth and the sky, kind of a terracotta tile symbolizing the congregation's connection to the earth, while the lighter materials for the slope portions over the sanctuary and the chapel symbolize the sky and the heavens. I want to really thank many people who have given their time and contribution to this project, which has made my role so great. So if you wouldn't mind bearing with me while I kind of go through this, I'm not going to get everybody's name, but there are people that I think we all need to recognize and thank. First, I want to thank you, the Countryside congregation. Thanks for your vision, for your input, your dreams, and your hopes, as well as your financial commitments. But this day is because of you. I'd like to thank members of Temple Israel and the American Muslim Institute who have given support, advice, and shared their experience of what to consider as we think about building a new church. So I want to especially thank just a few names. It's not everybody, but I've been blessed to have new friends in this process. People like John Walbaum, Bob Freeman, Whitney Goldberg, Farhan Khan, and Karim Kahani. Thank you. I also want to thank our architects, and I know I see them out there waving the fans in the sun. It's been a wonderful collaboration with Ali Pointer Mercado here in Omaha and HGA Architects in Minneapolis. Their inspiration, along with our vision, will be enjoyed by all of us. Sunday, I received the following message from them. The important day is upon us because of your love, compassion, sacrifice, and sense of responsibility to bring people together and find common ground. A very joyous and exciting moment. Congratulations. So thank you to our architect team. Next, all of our building and design subcommittees, volunteers, many who dove into some of the very nitty-gritty details and who have helped steer us in the right direction. I wish I could name everybody individually, but the sun will go down beforehand, and we need to be out of here. The advisory team, the Countryside Community Relocation Advisory Group, CRAC as we call them. And if you're here, I'd like you to please stand and be recognized. Chris Alexander, our moderators, Bruce Blanchard, Chris Hess, Mary Wendell, our past moderator, Jen Hammond, Brian Goebbels, Susie Buffett, Don Otis, and Phil Johnson. Thank you for all your wise advice. That really couldn't have happened without you. Now the Countryside Relocation Committee. Well, I don't know what to say, but the Countryside is blessed, as am I, to have your time, your talents, your true dedication to make this project a reality. I'd like you to stand when I call your name, if you would, please. Tim Kerrigan, who is Vice Chair and Finance Chair. I know Tim's back there. Cindy Kugler, Relocation Campaign Chair, and I really also would like to acknowledge Don Otis again. Please stand. They've been unstoppable co-team to raise the funds necessary and have done a wonderful job leaving no stone unturned. Pam Craig and Nancy Behringer, Communications and Logistics co-chairs. Unbelievable creative support and backbone for everyone in any way, at any time, and often my sounding board, and they've heard enough of me. So thank you. your turn. Paul's building the design chair and my right-hand arm through this whole schematic design development, and hopefully through construction. And I was probably more his left arm and got in his way many times, but I couldn't have done this without him. So thank you, Paul. And from staff, Eric and Dan Lovencrum. Dan, where are you? Eric's here, but I don't know where Dan is, back in the... Okay, over here in the corner. They've been critical to the many details necessary in building a new church. Always asking, what about this? What about that? Hey, we need to think of this. You were right, and I appreciate you filling in all the parts of the roadmap for this new building, so thank you. We couldn't have done all this without John Taylor with Project Advocates, who is our construction management wizard, as I call him. He's been our owner's rep. He's key to keeping us on budget. He'll be critical to ensuring we stay on budget. And with Matt Herzog, also with Project Advocates, to get the best result from our general contractors, Verana Construction, and I know Chip Verana is here, so thank you, and we look forward to working with you. Last, I would like to thank the Groundbreaking Tri-Chairs for this day. Margie Bolte, Kathy McInnes, and Renee Sims. If you would come up here, please. This is a wonderful kickoff to start our next chapter for Countryside. For our next chapter, but the book isn't complete. But because of the three of them, come on up here. This day is a big part of the text to start that chapter. So thanks for your gifts of detail, love, and organizational skills and talents. So here for each of you, just a little spa treatment for some relaxation after today. Okay, one last thing before we carry this legacy forward, and it's symbolic of our history. This shovel. Lee Marshall, if you would like to stand, please. Former minister and friend to us all, will use this ceremonial shovel a second time. It's engraved twice. Groundbreaking on Easter Sunday, April 18th, 1965, for our current sanctuary, and now with today's date, June 5th, 2017, on the Tri-Faith Commons, is added. The significance for us, the groundbreaking is happening the day after Pentecost, which is a very appropriate continuation of what we have begun at Easter. So thank you, Lee, for being with us. So before we all move over to the area for the ceremonial turning of the dirt, I'd like to have Chris Alexander give us the benediction, please.
I think we all know this one by heart, yes? Why don't you say it with me as you can? And now, my friends, may the Spirit of the living God, made known to us most fully through Jesus Christ our Lord, go before you to show you the way, go above you to watch over you, go behind you to push you into places you may not necessarily go on your own, go beneath you to uphold you and uplift you, walk beside you to be your constant and strong companion, and dwell inside so that you realize you are not alone, but but you are love. Love beyond your wildest imagination. And may the fire of God's blessing burn brightly upon you and within